Thursday at 7 p.m. W5FC. FC.
I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is KFI-PDS. My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list, and remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, space exploration and space history, Was Up, Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX. If you'll do the check-in honors, please.
Thank you, Ms. Billy. This is KE5ICX. My name's Tom. I'm going to go ahead and take low power short time check-ins. If you please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Low power short time only, please. And please let me know which you are.
Foxtrot 5, Quebec, Delta, Quebec. Eric in Rockwall. Short time heading towards the star party if it's actually happening.
November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William and Allen. Short time.
All right, I got two. I've got KF5QDQ, Eric. He will be in Rockwell at the star party here short time. We may call on you a little bit later in case you're there listening and let us know how the star party is going. Optional, not required. N5WOI, William and Allen, also short time. All right, let's go to general check-ins. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name and where you're transmitting from. General check-ins.
Golf 5, Uniform Kilo Uniform. David, Mesquite.
Kilo 5, Kilo, Tank, Ray Kelly in Quinlan.
Kilo 5, Alpha November Papa, Allen in Dallas.
India 5, Golf Echo Delta, Randy, Raleigh. Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton. Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Is Kilo Golf 5, Echo India Uniform. David, St. Paul, Texas. Kilo Golf 5, Papa, Mike and Richardson.
This is
Whiskey Tango, Niner Vincent, Michael, Third Rock from the Sun.
5, Whiskey Yankee, Dallas. Number Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
All right, that's pretty healthy check-in on the first round. Let me go ahead and get you folks checked in. I got KG5UKU, David in Mesquite, K5KTX, Miss Kelly in Quinlan, K5ANP, Allen in Dallas. Next station, was this the one I had trouble? KI5 Golf Echo Delta, Randy in Roulette. Did I get that right, Randy?
GED.
Okay, very good. I wasn't absolutely sure, so I marked you. KG5W, Victor, I can't read my own handwriting. Lima? James, oh, I should know that. James in Carrollton? Give me a correct call, James. I'm sorry.
Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima.
All right, thank you, James. That's what I had. KG5WVL, and my L looked like a C, and I wasn't completely sure. K5ZBL, Bill, over in Farmers Branch. Good seeing you today. KG5EIU, David, over in St. Paul. Good seeing you. KG5P, Mike, over in Richardson. WT9V, Michael, 3rd Plano from the Sun. Next station I've got N5WY and Dallas as I think the locations. Can you give me your name, please? And please correct me on your call if I got that somehow murdered.
N5 Whiskey Yankee. The name is Joe in Dallas.
All right, thank you, Joe. N5WY, welcome. NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. I'll take additional check-ins now. Please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo 5, Kilo Oscar Bravo, Philip from Crandall.
Okay, I think there were 2 stations. I did get Philip, one of our regulars, K5KOB over in Crandall. There was another station. You were all noise. So if you can increase power, I'll give you an extra second or 2 there, and let's see if we can get you in. But you were all noise to me, so try one more time.
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Portable, Richardson.
Hey, Robert, I got you that time. AA5AH, Robert Portable in Richardson. So you're just barely holding the repeater, but your signal was much better on that round. All right, let me go over to Echolink. I will take another round for everybody here in a bit, but I'll go to Echolink. If you'd like to join us on Echolink, I'm going to give you extra time. Please come with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Echolink only.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Golf Yankee, David in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J near Weatherford.
All right, hang on, everybody. I'm getting the chat again. Hold on. All right, thanks for bearing with me. I had a little higher than normal chat check-ins via text, but I've got, let's see here, I hope I got that one right. There we go. All right, I think I got everybody. I've got KB9, SGY, David in, I think you said Chickasaw, Wisconsin. The 9 call sounds about right. We got you. I got KG5BZWJ near Weatherford. I've got N5YEO, Steve over in San Antonio. And I've got KM6AVW, Brett over in Southern California. I think I got all those right. If I didn't, just yell at me over in chat. I'll open it up to anyone who'd like to check in any mode. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
Kilo Fox 5, Victor, Quebec Hotel. Tom in Mesquite.
Oh, 5. Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John in Coppell.
All right, I did have a double. I want to say W. There is W's in this, but no, a double. I do have John K5JDW at the end. I've got one station that started with a KF call, Kilo Foxtrot. I am assuming a 5. Can you please come back?
Fox 5, Victor, Quebec Hotel. Tom in Mesquite.
Okay, that resolves one. I got KF5DQH. That's Tom in Mesquite. Did I have another call out there or anyone else that wanted to check in? All right, well, that's pretty good check-in on the first round here. We have 23 check-ins. Not bad. Okay, I'll send it back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Great, awesome, Tom. Yeah, that is pretty healthy check-in. So welcome all to Skynet. And for those in case you're checking in for the first time this evening, welcome. We do this net every Saturday night at 9 p.m., so keep coming back for more astronomy and space talk. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. If so, please come now with your call sign. Okay, not hearing anybody, so I'm going to go ahead with a few announcements of my own. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You'll need Echolink installed and you registered. You can also find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. The Dallas AMSAT net, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.140 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset. The DARC also has several nets on Monday nights. First Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's Net. This is where we discuss and share recipes. If you have a food anecdote, a question about food, have a recipe to share, that's what Ham Fixin's Net is all about. Second Monday of the month is MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. For the third Monday, come back for a second helping of Ham Fixin's Net. And fourth Monday is GeekNet, which is coming up on the 28th. So 7 o'clock, you'll want to join the nets. Those nets start at 7, And the GeekNet is all about just sharing geeky stuff. If you have interesting news of the weird, geeky book, movie, brain teaser, we share usually really good brain teasers. It's a fun net, so come geek out on the fourth Monday with GeekNet. Periodically, there are Fifth Mondays, so we do Fifth Monday Surprise Net. I know we've done everything from like several rounds of Jeopardy to Christmas Thunderdome, where we discuss the best and worst Christmas presents of the year, Truth or Lies, April Fools, and I think there was even a Build Your Own Short Story round robin net. So anytime it's a surprise net, it's always a pleasant surprise on Fifth Monday Surprise Net. And on Saturdays, we have the Night of Nets with TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m. and, of course, at 9 p.m., Skynet. The ARRLNet National Traffic System Training Net is also every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. And remember to join us at 10:30 following Skynet. We have the Afterglow Movie Net. This net is, we have a long list of movies. We'll pick a movie, we'll watch it during the week, and then we'll come talk about it for Afterglow Movie Net. So this is KF5PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. And at this time, I will turn the net over to alternate net control Tom, KE5ICX, if you will give us tonight's Afterglow movie info.
Thank you, Miss Billy, and this is KE5ICX, and I pride myself on being able to give very accurate information on the movie at 10:30. So here we go. Victor Frankenstein's dance number was met with a thumbs down from the captain of the Quantival cruise line ship SS Flatulence. I can't make this stuff up. Well, actually I can. Frankenstein needed to get to the North Pole and fast. His creation, called My Creation, had written a bunch of bad checks, and the American Express card was purring along with new unauthorized charges, all leading to the North Pole. His last dance chance was this vessel, and the captain wasn't having any of it. Off in the distance was a very tall man running across the ice. In the distance, Frankenstein could see the gold AMX card flickering in the polar sunlight. Join us for the next Afterglow movie, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1993. Robert De Niro approved at 10:30 p.m. And you can even talk about the Frankenstein movies or anything else at 10:30, even if you haven't seen this fine film. Back to you, Net Control, KE5ICX.
Great, thank you, Tom. And just as a reminder, you can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. All right, next up is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. So if there's anyone on frequency that would like to give information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, please come now with your call sign.
K5KTX.
K5KTX. Kelly, good evening. What news do you have for us this evening?
Well, good evening to you as well, Billy. Normally Chaz would do this section, but I know he's up in Atoka, Oklahoma at the Texas Astronomical Society Ghost Hunt, which is a picnic that they're having up there, and they're specifically looking for some fun items related to ghost hunting, I guess. And so he was not going to be able to be on tonight, so I thought I would just cover this. So the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas has their meetings every fourth Friday of the month, which means we had our October meeting last night. Now, normally, every month we tell you that we do not have a meeting on the fourth Friday of November because of Thanksgiving. However, Thanksgiving is kind of late in the month, this year, and actually we will have a meeting on the fourth Friday of November. So the next meeting, I believe that's the 23rd. I have to look at my calendar, but anyway, so the meetings are held at the University of Texas at Dallas campus in Richardson. The meetings begin at 7:30 p.m. in the Science Learning Center building, which is SLC, or Sierra Lima Charlie, on the campus map. It's important that you only park in lots H, I believe is the closest parking lot to the Science Learning Center, and parking anywhere else on campus could result in a ticket. You can park pretty much in any space unless it's painted purple, or of course the handicapped spots if you are not handicapped. And so they do give us permission on the fourth Fridays to park pretty much anywhere on the in that lot. The meetings include programs presented by members or guest speakers, and a slideshow of the current constellation of the month, which is the Chaz and Dennis show, which is a lot of fun. And of course, you can always go to texasastro.org, click on the calendar link up at the top, and it will give you all the information about our events. Our meetings are free and open to the public, and of course family friendly. We do have kids that come and enjoy the presentations as well. At our meeting last night, we had a longtime TAS member give a presentation on naked eye observing, and she brought up a lot of great items that I hadn't even thought about as being, in astronomy. She talked about things like sundogs and the zodiacal light and the moon and a lot of different things, and it was a really great presentation. Now, the other thing that the Astronomy Club does is that every Saturday night somewhere in the Metroplex, we do have a star party, and tonight would normally be the Rockwall Star Party. Now, it was taken off of the calendar, and I'm assuming it's because of the ghost hunt that was happening at our dark site up in Oklahoma. But it does sound like Eric was out there. So, Eric, if you are still with us, can you tell us if the star party is still happening and what's going on and what are you looking at?
This is Eric, KF5QDQ. The star party is not happening. Unfortunately, the sky is clear and it is dark and it is wonderful, but the field is a little wet and damp from yesterday's rains and looks like it got canceled. So KF5QDQ, back to net.
All right, thank you for that, Eric. And yes, wet fields do not make for good astronomy, just for safety reasons and things like that. So the fourth Saturday. Sorry, I'm getting my tongue mixed up here. The fourth Saturday is normally at Lake Shore Park in Rockwall, which is a really nice dark site near the Lake Ray Hubbard. And then next week will be the first Saturday, and that will be at Spring Park in Garland. The second Saturday is at Frisco Commons Park in Frisco, a wonderful location, very well attended. And then the third Saturday is at J.W. Williams Park in Cedar Hill. So it is the southern part of Dallas County event. So these events always begin at around sunset. Some of them will start a little bit early. Some of the members will bring their solar telescopes and look at the sun before it goes down, although there's not been a whole lot to look at on the sun lately. And then, of course, weather permitting, then we will have telescopes out to look at what we can see in the night sky. And as I mentioned, these are free and open to the public, and it's a great way to learn about different types of telescopes. If you are wanting to purchase one yourself, it's a great way to see different types of telescopes and the advantages and disadvantages of each type, and you can ask all kinds of questions before you spend money on a telescope of your own. So again, go to texasastro.org, and you can get all the information about the club and what we're doing. And I guess that's all I have tonight. This is K5KTX.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Yeah, I hope they're having luck up there at Atoka, because you know how damp Atoka can get. So hopefully they're having fun chasing down some ghostly objects in the sky. And Eric, thank you so much for reporting in. Even though the Star Party wasn't happening, we appreciate the report. All right. And it's good to know, yeah, Friday, November 22nd will be the date for the Texas Astronomical Society General Meeting. So make sure to attend, and it's interesting how it falls that way. So this time we have a fourth Friday in November. So Friday, November 22nd. Again, you can go to texasastro.org to find out more. Thanks, Kelly. This is KF5PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is National Space Society events and activities. So at this time, I'll turn to Bill, N5BB. Do you have any news for us from the National Space Society? Okay, I wasn't sure. I didn't think I heard him check in. So, again, if he does check in, we'll watch and maybe give him a chance later on in the net to give us some information. But at this time, I'll tell you that the National Space Society of North Texas has an active Facebook page. Just type in National Space Society of North Texas into the search box and request access, and you'll receive meeting reminders and club activities. So next up, I'll move on to discussion topic of the evening. So wanted to talk about the Apollo missions, and we all know that there were several missions to the moon before Apollo, and also Russian space program. They sent up probes and things, and so there is still a lot of stuff left on the surface of the moon. So I just wanted to go over some of the items as reported in an article by Megan Bartels on space.com. Called The Weirdest Things Apollo Astronauts Left on the Moon. So, 3 golf balls, a family photo, large pieces of scientific equipment, a tiny statue, bags and bags of human waste, and of course, American flags. It's all this among the stuff that the dozen astronauts who walked on the moon between 1969 and 1972 left behind. Nearly half a century later, the motley collections are still there, although it's unlikely time has been kind to the objects scattered across the 6 landing sites. Some of the objects were deeply meaningful, sent to the moon expressly to be left there. But pragmatism in part guided the decision to leave terrestrial material behind. The more stuff the astronauts discarded, the logic went, the more weight they freed up for bringing moon rocks back to Earth. So the largest items at the Apollo 11 site and its successors were at the scientific and engineering heart of the program. Each site boasts the descent stage of its lunar module, for example, which served as a launch pad for the astronauts heading home. Scientific experiments are also scattered across each landing site. Seismometers to hunt moonquakes and retroreflector mirrors to pinpoint the distance from Earth to Moon, plus smaller apparatus as well. Some of the mementos were carefully chosen ceremonial objects. Apollo 11, for example, carried not just the famous flag the astronauts planted. The lunar module supported a commemorative plaque honoring the landing, and the mission also carried a silicon disc inscribed with comments from the leaders of 74 countries. The astronauts may have brought medals to commemorate dead Soviet cosmonauts, and they also brought a small gold olive branch, a millennia-old emblem of peace. Later Apollo missions weren't quite as straight-laced. Among the silliest items on the lunar surface are 3 golf balls, which Apollo 14 astronaut Alan Shepard swung across the moon. So you can look at the golf balls and say, well, that was kind of about a bit of fun, said Alice Gorman, an archaeologist at Flinders University in Australia who focuses on space. So it was kind of an experiment. How would you play golf on the moon in such a different gravity? But it's also a bit playful. Another astronaut was inspired to leave his trace in a very different way. During Apollo 16, Charlie Duke left a signed photograph of his family tucked in a plastic sleeve on the moon's surface. It's a very personal item. By leaving the photo, he's kind of enabling a way to share the experience of being on the moon and sort of commemorating them as a family. But a future moon explorer will likely never see the faces of the Duke family. Even on Earth, photographs fade to blue under ultraviolet light, and there's much more of that light on the moon, not to mention a steady hail of micrometeorites that could also destroy the prints. The astronauts left many objects behind out of necessity. One of the most compelling moments of Apollo 11 came when Armstrong and Aldrin were preparing to return home. For about 8 minutes, they stood on the corner of the lunar module and tossed out anything that was not important, because this was the first time they were told to jettison anything that they did not need, which created what archaeology is called a toss zone. The Apollo 11 crew and their successors created an archaeological site the same way humans have done for millennia. And the same process of looking through items has led to better understanding of our past here on Earth, and it can also help us understand about our moon missions. The excess weight jettisoned before leaving the moon included some objects that were crucial to the Apollo 11 mission but had outlived their usefulness. Those objects shaped the mission's legacy, like the tube that carried the flag and the television camera that Armstrong and Aldrin had used to share their historic moment with more than 500 million humans watching from Earth, a late addition to the flight. Sampling tools like scoops and tongs were abandoned, their purpose having been served. And then, of course, there's that human waste. Apollo 11 left behind 4 urine collection assemblies and 4 emesis bags. That's really the opposite end of the spectrum to these carefully chosen and carefully placed objects. But in some ways, it encodes as much, if not more, information because human body residues are rich in information about the diet of the astronauts in space and the effect on their bodies. Revisiting the bags after their long years on the moon's surface could also help scientists understand how the harsh lunar environment would affect the human body. For now, scientists can't be sure about the condition of most of the other objects abandoned on the moon during the Apollo program. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has spotted the shadows cast by lunar modules, however, so at least those must remain standing. Everything that NASA intended to send was space-hardened, designed to withstand the harsh environment, but only for the mission, not for decades. And all the extras that humans brought on their own are weaker. But whatever the condition, they offer a very different perspective on the Apollo program than we may be used to, considering both, as archaeologists have said. So they really say, to me, it was certainly more than just scientific expedition or a voyage of exploration, said archaeologist O'Leary. It was certainly part of the Cold War history, but it was also about taking human behavior onto a celestial body no one had ever been before. We take our culture with us. We take our ideas and our hopes and aspirations anywhere we go. So again, that article is by Megan Bartels, reported on space.com, so you can go read the article and see the pictures, because there are some great pictures associated. You can see the olive branch, and you can see the Charlie Duke photo on the website. So again, space.com, some of the weirdest things that were left behind on the moon from our Apollo missions. All right, this is KFI PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. At this time, we'll turn the net over to Tony, Space Exploration and Space History, NT5TM. The net is yours.
Thank you, Billy. Yeah, there's quite an interesting collection of stuff left behind by astronauts, and I will really look forward to reading that story because, yeah, it's everything from the utilitarian empty film magazines and things even smellier to the very touching, so a lot to look up there. In space exploration news, I have one real story and one rumor. The rumor first is, of course, a SpaceX engine test should, we think, be coming up in very early November. This would be a repeat of the experiment, the pad abort basically, that caused a capsule to explode back in April of this year. SpaceX has neither confirmed nor denied the rumor, but they do appear to be setting up for a test, and the excitement should be coming soon. Non-rumor science news, though, one of my favorite sciences is cartography. Maps are beautiful, and the map of Pluto is still getting more detail. When you launch a big probe, or at least an important probe like New Horizons, the data is just a gift that keeps on giving. New work can be done for years and years from the same results as everyone analyzes them with exquisite care. A new paper has just been released joining New Horizons' images of the far side of Pluto, the part that it didn't see during its close pass, with the part that it saw during closest approach in the summer of 2015. The combination of the blurry low-resolution data with the sharp high-resolution data creates the first accurate global map of Pluto, although, as you might expect, they're very careful about accuracy, but there are places that the resolution is just not there. I have one very exciting space-related birthday, and during my November presentation topic, I'll talk more about this. October 22nd, 1905 marked the birthday of Carl Guthrie Jansky in Norman, Oklahoma, no less, so not far from here at all. Jansky was one of the principal founders of a science that is dear to many hams' heart, radio astronomy. Back in the summer of 1931, he used a giant rotatable dipole, sometimes called Jansky's merry-go-round, to detect radio waves from the center of the Milky Way. Observing at a frequency of about 20 megahertz, he detected nearby thunderstorms, then distant thunderstorms, and then finally a faint signal he couldn't locate on Earth. At first he believed it came from the sun, but careful timing of when it appeared and disappeared revealed that it rotated exactly once every 23 hours and 56 minutes, the sidereal day, not the solar day. And in fact, that the center of this mysterious hiss was the constellation Sagittarius. We have heard the radio waves from the black hole at the center of our galaxy, but he was very frustrated in his efforts to follow up on this discovery. His supervisors at Bell Labs, who were trying to find sources of static in shortwave radio telephone transmissions they wanted to save on transatlantic cables by using radio circuits, were not interested in funding research into static of extraterrestrial origin. They figured they couldn't do anything about it, which is true. Bell Labs cannot make the black hole at the center of the galaxy go away. And astronomers, on the other hand, were uninterested in such new and outlandish ideas. Astronomy is about looking through telescopes, not antennas. Nevertheless, after radar and radio technology in World War II opened their eyes, scientists became very interested in radio astronomy just after the war. This week in space history had a number of interesting items. On October 21st, 2008, Chandrayaan-2 launched. Chandrayaan-1. Chandrayaan-1, literally Mooncraft 1, was India's first mission to the moon. It launched successfully on October 22nd of 2008 and conducted chemical, mineralogical, and photogeologic mapping of the moon for almost a full year. It had 11 instruments built in India, the USA, the UK, Germany, Sweden, and even Bulgaria. In other recent science news, October 22nd, 2136 BC or BCE, almost 4,000 years ago, marked the first record of a solar eclipse, and unfortunately it was a very sad one. This eclipse is known to history because 2 court astronomers were executed for failing to predict it. Oops. Well, I mean, it's not like they had a lot of eclipse records on. It was the first one. But Ho and He, which is all we know of their names, were killed allegedly because they were too intoxicated to correctly predict the eclipse. On a happier note, October 24th, 1946 marked the first photo of the Earth from space. This was a V2 launch, V2 number 13. I can't find out if this was just a stock V2 or if this was a V2 bumper. They would put another rocket on the nose of the V2 like a whack corporal in an attempt to, have a 2-stage rocket. The Army and the scientific panel of experts known as the Upper Atmosphere Research Panel were interested in learning about how to manage and launch rockets, how to make rockets more reliable, and they were willing to let scientists put instruments on the rocket to take a ride. I mean, we're firing these things. We may as well put something on them, I guess. The camera was an afterthought. It was really just there so that they could tell what direction the rocket nose cone was facing. Because the scientists with their cosmic ray detectors wanted to know what direction the cosmic rays were coming from. No one really cared about space images, and it was largely unremarked upon by the scientists at the time that we had just taken the first picture of the Earth from above 100 kilometers out there in space. But National Geographic picked up on it, and outer space imaging is now a multi-billion-dollar image industry with some very important contributions to safety and resource management and industry, and just general artistic beauty. My, how times have changed. October 24th, 1998, Deep Space One launched. This was a NASA experimental spacecraft. Lots of probes like Voyager 1 are very conservative. They carefully use things they only know will work. A big dish, rocket engines they've used before, computers they've tested. Deep Space One was not like that. It was a dozen or so experimental technologies. A computer that could navigate on its own, solar panels of unparalleled efficiency, and the first ion drive that NASA ever used in outer space. It was a moderate success. It got some scientific data, but more importantly, it proved all that stuff worked. October 25th, 2006, Stereo launched. Stereo was 2 satellites, as you might guess from the name. The twin Solar Terrestrial Relations Observatory probes were launched on the same Delta II rocket on almost the same trajectory. But there was a clever trick. They aimed at slightly different points on the moon, and so they got different gravity assists from the moon. One of the stereo probes ended up in an orbit around the sun just outside of Earth, and one ended up on an orbit around the sun just inside the Earth. Thus, one went ahead of us, one went behind us, and they gave us a stereo perspective on the sun and helped us look around to the backside of the sun where Star Trek characters with goatees are known to hang out. Fortunately, one of the pairs, Stereo B, entered an uncontrolled spin and was lost in 2014, but Stereo A continues to be a very important part of solar weather forecasting today. It doesn't just make beautiful pictures. It lets us know when dangerous coronal mass ejections the size of the Carrington event are taking place. but not least, on October 26th, Houston time, or October 27th, UTC, Cassini completed its first flyby of Titan. The giant Cassini space probe to Saturn had previously passed somewhat near Saturn, or Titan, on its way to Saturn orbital insertion, but October 27th, 2004 marked its first intentional close flyby of Titan. This was an amazing thing, full of photography and radar mapping and chemistry sampling. Almost 4 gigabits of data were collected and transmitted to Earth from this one short flyby. This did include the first radar images of the moon's surface. Cassini revealed that the surface of Titan was relatively level. The hills and lakes were very shallow, no more than about 50 meters in height. But Cassini helped open up to us a really unique world with gravity far less than ours, but an atmosphere that's twice as thick. And hopefully, we're going to send a helicopter to go fly around in the atmosphere of Titan someday soon. So lots of cool stuff in space history and a cool quadricopter to look forward to. This is NT5TM.
Great. Thank you very much, Tony. This is KF5PDS Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, before we move on to What's Up, we got a special break in the program to allow Kelly, our K5KTX, to deliver some extra special space news. So, Kelly, K5KTX, if you'll go ahead with your announcements, please.
Thank you, Billy. This is K5KTX, and I forgot to mention earlier that, and I know Chaz would have brought this up, but coming up on Monday, November the 11th, which is not that far, just around the corner, a couple of weeks, there will be a transit of Mercury across the sun. And there are 2 events in the Dallas area. One will be happening at Brookhaven College, which is where Chaz is a professor of astronomy, and they will be having their event. I believe it starts about 6:30 in the morning. Sunrise is closer to, and I apologize, I don't have the exact time. Sunrise will be somewhere near 7 o'clock in the morning. The event, the transit will end at 12:04 p.m., so it will go all morning long, and I believe that he said that they will be located between buildings X and K on the Brookhaven College campus. So hopefully they will, they don't have the details posted yet at texasastro.org, but I'm sure they will get all those details up there. So that's the first event that will be happening at Brookhaven College. The other one will be at the University of Texas at Dallas. They are going to have 2 setups. One will be near the Student Union, I believe, and that will be kind of their public event there. And they're also going to have another area set aside for people that are interested in imaging the event. And so again, if you go to texasastro.org, go to the calendar and be looking for those details, because I'm sure they will be posted soon. But this event you don't want to miss. There will not be another Mercury transit until 2032. I think is the year, and so this is a really neat thing. The transit actually begins before sunrise for us. If you're going to be on the East Coast, you'll actually be able to see the whole event. So be sure to go to texasastro.org and look at our calendar and get those details, and maybe you can stop by on your way to work that morning and take a look through a safe solar viewer. And that's all I've got. This is K5KTX.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, the Mercury transit was actually how I found out about Texas Astronomical Society. I was going to school at UTD, and I was walking a campus, and I saw all y'all with your telescopes out, and I walked up to somebody. I don't remember who I walked up to, but I said, is there an event going on tonight? And they said, there's an event going on right now. Have you ever seen a Mercury transit across the sun? And I said, no. And so I went over, and I remember I looked through several telescopes and was so amazed that I picked up a membership application right there on the spot. And Kelly, I think you were the one who handed it to me. So that's how I got involved with TASS. So definitely check out Mercury transit, and then you can also check out Venus transits when those happen. I've seen that too, and those are really spectacular sights. So if you can, get over to Brookhaven and look through telescopes. They'll have solar filters on those scopes, so you'll be able to look safely. And if not, I'm sure they'll be simulcasting on the NASA TV. You could probably catch a live stream. They usually stream events like that, and they usually stream solar eclipses and other kind of astronomical events. So definitely check that out. So let me return back to our program. So thank you very much for bringing that information. Next up is Was Up. So at this time, Tom, if you will check to see if we have any additional check-ins. I noticed on the chat window that you had acknowledged some. So if you want to go ahead and acknowledge those check-ins, maybe pick up a few more, and then give our Was Up program for tonight. So this is KF5PDS to KE5ICX. The net is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Billy. This is KE5ICX, and I'll recognize K5DIM. That's Tyler over in Denton. I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is November 5, Yankee Echo, Oscar, retired.
All right, I've got N5YEO over in San Antonio. I got you checked in. Let's see. Okay. Let me go ahead and continue here. For the What's Up segment, I'm not a professional astronomer, nor do I play one on TV. But so what I do is when things go, when Chaz isn't here, I go to earthsky.org/tonight, and they always have a topic or something significant in the sky. You can do the same. Every night it changes, and you can check ahead as they list the various nights. So tonight they talk about watch for false dawn or dusk. It says the summer equinox came on September 23rd, 2019, and the moon is new on the 28th, October 28th. This combination makes these last few weeks ideal for seeing the zodiacal light. And I have a picture of it there, and there's a link on the w5fc.org website. It's also known as a false dawn. If you're in the northern hemisphere, look east about an hour before the light of true dawn. Now they mention if you're in the southern hemisphere, your spring equinoxes was September 23rd, and the moon phase, of course, is the same for all of us. But you're more than likely to see the zodiacal light in the evening now. And I have Yuri's Boletsky's picture. I believe that's his. I could be wrong. At any rate, it's there. You need a dark sky location to see the light. Someplace where city lights aren't obscuring natural lights in the sky. So maybe you should be at the dark site to see this. Definitely not Dallas. The zodiacal light is a pyramid-shaped glow in the east before dawn or after twilight ends in the evening. It's even milkier in appearance in the starlit trail of the summer Milky Way. And we've talked about that during July, I think. From the northern hemisphere now, the zodiacal light can be seen for up to an hour or so before true dawn begins to break. Look for it about 120 to 80 minutes before sunrise. It also lingers that long after evening twilight ends. Unlike true dawn or dusk, though, there's no rosy color to the zodiacal light. The reddish skies are dawn and dusk are caused by Earth's atmosphere, and the zodiacal light originates far outside our atmosphere. When you see the light, you are looking edgewise into our own solar system. The zodiacal light is actually sunlight reflecting off dust particles that move in the same plane as the Earth and the other planets orbiting our sun. This light can be noticeable as easy to see from latitudes relatively close to the Earth's equator. For example, like those in the southern U.S., you might see it while driving a lonely highway far from city lights, mistaking the light for the lights of a city or a town just over the horizon. Meanwhile, sky watchers in the northern U.S. and Canada sometimes say wistfully that they've never seen it, although in recent years you've seen many photographs of zodiacal light taken from northerly latitudes. So that's it for What's Up at earthsky.org/tonight. And I'll send it back to you, Billy. This is KE5ICX, back to net control.
Great, thank you very much, Tom. All right, next up is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Month, our topic of the week. So at this time, I will turn the net over to Mike, KG5P. Take it away.
Okay, thank you, Billy. How's my audio first? Am I hitting the repeater okay?
Mike, you sound good. I'll go ahead and do it direct. Go right ahead, KE5ICX.
Okay, I think I've cut down to 5 watts, so just want to make sure. Okay, I'll probably do Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week next month, being how November is coming up. And I also have a trip planned one of these weeks. I can get out from this tornado that's made such a mess here. Fortunately, I didn't have any serious damage. My house is still here, which is more than I can say about some of the folks that live about a mile away. Okay, a couple weeks ago we started talking about the Jupiter's moons. Jupiter has 4 of the Galilean moons, as you're aware. You have Io, you have Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. And of the 2 of those moons, Ganymede and Europa are believed to have water below the surface. And there's, Europa. Ganymede and Europa have water. There's a 5th moon, which is not part of the Jovian, or the Galilean 4, which is Enceladus, and it's also believed to have water. And and NASA right now is considering probes to go up there and determine exactly what's under the surface, whether it be ice or something else. There does seem to be a lot of information, and there's a lot of belief that there is, in fact, more water under Europa than there is perhaps under on the entire planet Earth. So that was what we talked about a couple weeks ago. This week, I thought we'd talk a little bit about what life could possibly be like on these watery planets. I get a lot of my information from Michio Kaku's book, The Future of Humanity, and he talks about how if life is common in the universe, it's probably from some kind of aquatic environment. So how would a intelligent technological society or culture thrive or come about in such an environment? Okay, well, once a civilization begins a long, arduous process of becoming a modern society, and I'll talk about that in a minute, it faces another problem, there may be a series of natural phenomena that get in the way. For example, intelligent creatures evolved, say, on a place like Venus or Titan. They may be forced or faced with a permanent cloud cover over their world, so they would never see the stars. Their whole concept of the universe would be limited to their planet. This means that their civilization would never develop astronomy, and their religion would all consist of tales that are confined to their own planet. They would now have no urge to explore beyond the clouds. Their civilization would also be stunted, and it is highly unlikely they would develop a space program. Without a space program, they would never have telecommunication and weather satellites. Now, there's a science fiction writer named Stapleton, and he speculated of some creatures that live below the surface of the sea eventually come onto land where they discovered astronomy. If they'd stayed in the oceans, they would never have discovered the universe beyond their planet. You know, a lot of us are familiar with Asimov's 1941 story Nightfall, where he envisioned scientists living on a planet that revolves around 6 stars. Their planet is continually bathed in starlight. Its inhabitants have never seen the night sky with its billions of stars, but firmly believe that the entire universe just consists of their own solar system. Their entire religion and sense of identity centers around this core belief. But then they begin to make some disturbing discoveries. They find out every 2,000 years their civilization collapses into chaos. Something mysterious happens that sparks the total disintegration of their society. And it seems to repeat numerous times into the past. And you're all familiar with the story, but basically every 2,000 years there was an anomaly on their own planet's orbit that experiences nightfall. And to their horror, they find out this cycle will happen again very soon. And so stories like Nightfall force us to contemplate how life may exist on planets under a totally different set of circumstances from our own. We are lucky to live on the Earth, where energy sources are plentiful, where fire and combustion are possible, where the atmosphere allows electrical devices to function without short circuits, and where silicon is plentiful, and where we can see the night sky. If any of these ingredients were missing, it would make the rise of an advanced civilization very difficult. So then, this is KG5P, and this is Skynet. How would an intelligent creature develop in a modern society? Okay, well, I mentioned earlier that Bishop Kako believes the most common form of life in the galaxy might be aquatic. And you'd have to consider if sea creatures could develop the requisite physiology, like maybe an opposing thumb or something. But is there a cultural or technological component to our story as well? So let's see what would happen if an advanced civilization can rise from the bottom of the ocean. This is all speculation. We have no idea what this might be like. Okay, well, let's take our own planet here. For humans, after the discovery of agriculture, the process of developing energy and information went through 3 stages. First stage was the Industrial Revolution, where the energy in our hands was magnified many times by the power of coal and fossil fuel. Society exploded with power, converting a primitive agrarian culture into an industrial one. The second stage was the electric age, where power available to us was augmented by electric generators, and new forms of communication arose, including radio, TV, telecommunications. As a result, energy and information flourished. The third stage is the information revolution, where computer power came to dominate society. You have to remember, this is all very, very recent in our history. So, we can now ask the simple question, can an aquatic alien civilization, such as one living on Enceladus or in Europa, go through these stages of development in energy and information? And because Europa and Enceladus are far from the sun, and since their oceans are perpetually under ice cover, Any intelligent creatures on these distant moons will probably be blind, like the fish that live in dark caves below the surface of the Earth. Instead, they'll probably develop some form of sonar using sound waves as bats do in order to navigate the oceans. Again, this is totally speculative. We have no idea. But all we know is what we know. Okay, but since the wavelength of light is much smaller than the wavelength of sound, this means that they will not be able to see the fine details that we can with our eyes, just as sonograms used by doctors provide far less detail than endoscopy. This will slow down their march towards creating a modern civilization. But more important, any aquatic species may have a problem with energy, since you cannot burn fossil fuels in the water and it's difficult to shield electric power. Modern industrial machinery would be useless without oxygen to create combustion and mechanical motion. Solar power would also be useless, since sunlight would not perpetuate or penetrate the perpetual ice cover. Okay, without internal combustion engines, fires and solar power, that kind of stuff, it would seem that any alien aquatic species would lack the energy to develop into a modern society. There's one source of untapped energy that is available to them, however, and that is geothermal energy coming from heat vents at the bottom of the ocean. And, of course, we have these on Earth, like these volcanic vents. Similar vents on Europa and Enceladus may provide a convenient source of energy for tool making. It may be possible to create an underwater steam engine as well. The temperature of the vents might be well beyond the boiling point of water. If the heat from these vents can be channeled, then creatures might be able to use it to create a steam engine using a system of pipes that can draw boiling water from these vents and channel them to a piston or something. From this, they might be able to enter the machine age. It may also be possible to use this heat to melt ores in order to create a metallurgy. They can extract and mold metal if they can. They can create cities on the bottom of their oceans. In short, it may be possible to create an underwater industrial revolution. An electric revolution seems improbable since water would short-circuit most traditional electrical appliances. Without technology, all the wonders of that age would be impossible, so technology would be stunted. But here also is a possible solution. If these creatures can find magnetized iron on the bottom of the ocean, then it is possible to create an electrical generator, which then can be used to power machinery. By spinning these magnets, perhaps by jets of steam hitting a turbine blade, they can push electrons in a wire, creating an electrical current. This is the same process used in bicycle lamps and hydroelectric dams. The point is that intelligent creatures might be able to create electric generators using magnets even in the presence of water, and hence enter the electric age. Okay, the Industrial Revolution with computers and all that is difficult, but not impossible to master for an aquatic species. Just as water is the perfect medium to spawn life, silicon is also the likely basis for any chip-based computer technology. There could be silicon at the bottom of the oceans, which could be mined, purified, and etched to create chips via ultraviolet light, just as we do. But again, this is all speculation, but it'd be interesting to see when some of these probes actually do some exploration on these Jovian moons, and so we can have a better idea of what goes on underneath. And right now, NASA is looking at such probes. So that concludes what I have. Next time we'll have something for Miss Carolyn's constellation of the month. So back to that, KG5P.
Great, thank you, Mike. Thanks for that special report, and we look forward to Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week next week. So this is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the BARC Skynet. All right, next up, we have space launches for this week and recent astronomical discoveries. Tom, I have you down for both. So this is KF5PDS to KE5ICX. If you'll give the reports, please.
is Billy once again. Space launches for this week. Nothing magical or mystical about all this. There are 2 locations where you can get this information anytime. Very often, the company that manufactures the launch vehicle, which is typically companies like SpaceX or Grumman, will televise these things. You'll have to go to their website to watch them, or you can go to NASA.gov and get this information as well. So I will try and put the links in when I see them. November 2nd, we got the Antares NG-12 that lifts off from Wallops Island in Virginia. That's a Northrop Grumman Antares rocket, which will launch the 13th Cygnus cargo freighter, and we talked about that, I think, this last week, on the 12th operational cargo delivery flight to the International Space Station. The mission is known as NG-12. The rocket will fly in the Antares 230 configuration with 2 RD-181 first stage engines and a Castor 30XL second stage. This was delayed from last month, or actually this month, which is October 1st and 27th. So that's really all I've got that has any real dates. So that's coming up on November 2nd. Now, for recent astronomical discoveries, Brenda usually does this. She's out at a Halloween party. I hope she's having fun. But here's what she sent in from Science News. Ancient stars shed light on Earth's similarities with other planets. So it says here, Earth-like planets may be common in the universe, a new UCLA study implies. A team of astrophysicists and geochemists presents new evidence that the Earth is not unique. I don't know, it's pretty unique to me. The study was published in Science Journal on October 18th. We have just raised the probability that many rocky planets are like the Earth, and there's a very large number of rocky planets in the universe, said co-author Edward Young from UCLA, professor of geochemistry and cosmochemistry. The scientists, led by Alexandra Doyle, a UCLA graduate, student of geochemistry and astrochemistry, developed a new method to analyze in detail the geochemistry of planets outside of our solar system. Doyle did so by analyzing the elements and rocks from asteroids or rocky planet fragments that orbited 6 white dwarf stars. We're studying geochemistry and rocks from other stars, which is almost unheard of, she said. Learning from the composition of planets outside our solar system is very difficult, said co-author Hilke Schilling, UCLA Associate Professor of Astrophysics and Planetary Science. We used the only methods possible, a method we pioneered to determine the geochemistry of rocks outside of the solar system. White dwarf stars are dense, burnt-out remnants of normal stars. Their strong gravitational pull causes heavy elements like carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen to sink rapidly into their interiors, where the heavy elements cannot be detected by telescopes. The closest white dwarf star, which is Doyle studied, is about 200 light-years from Earth, and the farthest is 665 light-years away. By observing these white dwarfs and the elements present in their atmosphere, we are observing the elements that are the body that orbited the white dwarf. The white dwarf's large gravitational pull shreds the asteroid or planet fragments that is orbiting it, and the material falls onto a white dwarf. Observing the white dwarf is like doing an autopsy on the contents of what has gobbled in its solar system. The data Doyle analyzed were collected by telescopes, mostly from the Keck Observatory in Hawaii, that scientists have previously collected from other scientific purposes. If I were to just look at a white dwarf star, I would expect to see the hydrogen and helium, Doyle said, but in these data, I also see other materials such as silicon, magnesium, carbon, and oxygen, materials that have accreted onto the white dwarfs from bodies that are orbiting them. When iron is oxidized, it shares its electrons with oxygen, forming a chemical bond between them, Young said. This is called oxidation. You can see it when the metal turns into rust. Oxygen steals electrons from iron, producing iron oxide rather than iron metal. We measured the amount of iron that got oxidized in these rocks and hit the white dwarf. We studied how much the metal rusts. Rocks from the Earth, Mars, and elsewhere in our solar system are similar in their chemical composition and contain a surprisingly high level of oxidized iron, Young said. We measured the amount of iron that got oxidized in these rocks that hit the white dwarf. The sun is mostly of hydrogen, which does the opposite of oxidizing. Hydrogen adds electrons. And researchers said oxidation of the rocky planet has a significant effect on its atmosphere, its core, and the kind of rocks it makes on its surface. All the chemistry that happens on the surface of Earth can ultimately be tracked back to oxidation state of the planet, Young said. The fact that we have oceans and all the ingredients necessary for life can be traced back to the planet being oxidized as it is. The rocks control the chemistry. Until now, the scientists have not known in any detail whether the chemistry of rocks' exoplanets is similar to or very different from that of Earth. Rocks the UCLA team analyzed to rocks from Earth and Mars? Well, very similar, Doyle said. They are Earth-like and Mars-like in terms of their oxidized iron. We are finding that rocks are rocks everywhere with very similar geophysics and geochemistries. It's always been a mystery why the rocks in our solar system are so oxidized. It's not what you expect. A question was whether this would also be true around other stars. Our study says yes. That bodes really well for looking for Earth-like planets in the universe. White dwarf stars are a rare environment for scientists to analyze. The researchers studied the 6 most common elements in rock: iron, oxygen, silicon, magnesium, calcium, and aluminum. They used mathematical calculations and formulas because scientists are able to study actual rocks from the white dwarfs. We can determine that the geochemistry of these rocks mathematically and compare these calculations with rocks that we do have from Earth and Mars, said Doyle, who's at the background in geology and mathematics. Understanding the rocks is crucial because they reveal the geochemistry and geophysics of the planet. If extraterrestrial rocks have a similar quality of oxidation as Earth has, then you can conclude the planet has similar plate tectonics and similar potential for magnetic fields as the Earth, which are widely believed to be the key elements for life. This study is a leap forward in being able to make these inferences from bodies outside our own solar system and indicates that it's very likely there are truly Earth analogs. Young said his department has both astrophysics and astrochemists working together. The result, he said, is we're doing real geochemistry on rocks from outside our solar system. Most astrophysicists wouldn't think to do this, and most geochemists wouldn't think to even ever apply this to a white dwarf. So there you have it. 2 groups working together for a common cause that actually causes additional science to be performed remotely. So I think that's pretty cool, and that was Brenda's choice this week from an article from Ancient Stars Shed Light on Earth Similarities to Other Planets from Science News. So you can go to ScienceDaily.com and find out daily updates for free on Science Daily. Back to Net Control. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, so let me see where we're at in our program here. looks like we've got time for some visible satellite passages. So, Tom, if you will go ahead and give us some visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. This is KF5PDS to KE5ICX.
Thank you, Miss Billy. Sorry, I was subbing for everybody tonight, so, well, not everybody, but a few, a larger than normal crowd, thanks to all the activities tonight. So, let's see, what do we got? Let me do the ISS. This information also is available from Heavens Above. There's a little dash in between, heavens-above.com. You can go there, plug in your longitude and latitude, or you can become a subscriber. It's free, and get a name and password of your choice, and you can go ahead and do that. Enable cookies will do the same thing, and it will give you the same longitude and latitude information and send it to the site and allow you to do the satellite passes. Don't need a program. All you need is the internet access and going to the website. So what do we have here? Well, the International Space Station, I've got two passes, October 25th. Oh, well, let's see. That probably already happened. Forget October 25th. Let's talk October 26th, minus 3.0 magnitude, 5:58 a.m. Reaches, it's at 48 degrees out of the northeast, reaches its high point at 5:58.32. That means it's coming out of a shadow, and it reaches, falls at 6:01. So let me look at that pass. Obviously coming, oh, that's a short one. But it does go through Ursa Major and heads to the northeast. So you could see it. It just scoots by really quickly. The next I have is the Korean, well, let's go to Hubble Space Telescope. I guess I messed up on my, there we go. Bad boy, I didn't put in the Korean satellite main page, so we're just going to skip to the Hubble Space Telescope. We have a couple of passes. November 1st coming up is a very good pass. It's 2.5 magnitude, 5:34 a.m. It rises at 28 degrees out of the southeast. Whoops. Wait a minute. Let me do the second one. 1.6 magnitude at 7:09. That's 90 minutes later. Out of the west-southwest, reaches its highest point at 7:13 at 44 degrees and falls to the south at 10 degrees. So let's look at that one. That's the second pass, and it falls through Orion, scoots past Canis Major, goes through Hydra. Everything goes through Hydra. It will pass Mars and falls to the southeast, or almost east. All right, let me skip over to Envisat. Envisat is, I believe, a geosynchronous, or not geosynchronous, a polar satellite. This one has several good passes. Let's see, let me pick a couple here. October 27th is the most current one, 3.3 magnitude at 1948 or 7:48 local time. It reaches highest point at 1953 at 71 degrees, so pretty high, and then falls at 1958. So it's a long pass. This one is from south to north, and it runs through Capricornus, Aquila, let's see, Draco again, Ursa Major, and then through the Big Dipper or Ursa Major. Just one more, and then we'll call it quits. Let's go to OTV-5. That's the super secret winged unmanned spacecraft that lands at Cape Kennedy. This one has been in orbit now for at least 2 years. It has a decent pass if you want to see super secret stuff. On October 27th at 1923, it's out of the south-southwest, reaches its highest point at 44 degrees at 1925 and falls at 1927. They never give a brightness on this, and it could be because the unusual nature of the spacecraft is kind of has a dark features very much like the shuttle, but it's about 1/6 the size. So this one goes through Capricornus, Aquarius, through Pegasus and Triangulum from the south and headed to the northeast. So that's what I'm going to give this evening. Things are starting to look a little better on some of these passes, more favorable reflections. We had kind of a dirge there for a while. So I'll send it back to net control. This is KE5ICX. Back to you, Billy.
Great. Thank you very much, Tom. We don't often have time to get to those, so I like to get to the satellite passages and International Space Station and Hubble telescope sightings when we can. Again, you can see that information for yourself if you go to heavens-above.com, and you can put in the GPS or city and state for your local your location, and then you can get the most up-to-date information about those satellite passages for your area. So again, heavens-above.com. All right, Tom, I'm going to prevail upon you one more time. Thank you so much for stepping in for our folks that are out this evening, and for all you do for Skynet. If you will just take a final check-in round quickly to see if we have any last-minute check-ins and give me a final count for this evening's net, I would greatly appreciate it. This is KF5PDS to KE5ICX.
This is KE5ICX, final round. If you're out there listening and you would like to check in, and we always like to know if folks are listening to the net, even if this is your first time, that's okay. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Okay, we wore them all out. I've got 25 check-ins, Miss Billy, from KE5ICX.
Great, copy that. I had that as well. I just wanted to double check. So tonight we had 25 hams participating on the air. So thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video archives, video streams, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5PDS, Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:31 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everyone, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And don't forget, following this net, we have the Afterglow movie net, where we'll be discussing Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1994. All right, so 7-3, everyone.
Back in 5 minutes to talk about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So go powder your noses, refresh your drinks, get your popcorn for that movie. 5 minutes from now. This is KE5ICX.
evening, fellow denizens of the dark. It's that time again. I figure if anyone needs to use the repeater, you'd probably already be using it. And if anyone has an emergency, put down the radio and call 911. If you can't do that for some reason, then say the secret code words, break, break, very enthusiastically with a hint of desperation, and we'll do our best to help you. This, as you've probably already guessed, is Michael, WT9V, and I'll be your host for this evening's Afterglow Movie Net. And by host, I mean net control. And by net control, I mean I'm in charge. Sorry, the power momentarily went to my head. Normally, Brenda would be sitting in the hot seat tonight, but she is apparently in therapy because of what the movie did to her. She may join us later. Rumor has it that she picked this film, so she may just be hiding out until we forget that she's to blame. In case you haven't figured it out by now, this is the Afterglow Movie Net. And what's that, you ask? Well, for those of you that are new, besides being a somewhat less formal net than others, we talk about a movie that was assigned this week, like homework. Yes, informal net, assigned homework. And we give our thoughts on the movie, usually in 3 or more rounds, the plot, then characterization, the special effects, if there are any, and whatever else. You aren't on the... if you aren't on the next week's movie announcement list, and you'd like to be, then go to Afterglow Movie, Afterglow is one word, on Facebook and sign up. Or if you don't like Facebook, and who can blame you, then send an email to ke5icx@yahoo.com, and Mr. President will put you on the list. Going to ramble for a while so that y'all can, switch your mind over from things in space to things that go bump in the night and then rip you apart. Its monstrosity is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1994. Another gem directed and produced by one of the stars. Ad Astra, anyone? Cribbing from Tom's crack team of researchers, I found this dubious blurb. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is a 1994 horror film drama directed by Kenneth Branagh. And starring Robert De Niro, Kenneth Branagh, see where I'm going with this, Tom Hulsey, Helena Bonham Carter, Ian Holm, that's Bilbo Baggins to you, John Cleese, and Aidan Quinn. The film was produced on a budget of $45 million and apparently only made half of that. And it's considered the most faithful film adaptation of Mary Shelley's 1818 novel Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, despite several differences and adaptations in plot from the novel. Well, then possibly the scariest part of this whole thing is what the other movies were about, since this is the most faithful one. Anyway, briefly, I shall summarize the plot, since apparently that's something I'm supposed to do. Stuff happens, people die, the end. You didn't want it that brief? Okay, fine. Be that way. Y'all are so needy. Slightly less brief than... The movie starts out with an Arctic expedition. Hits an iceberg. Wait, are we watching Titanic? After which they pick up an apparent madman who tells a fantastic story. Abrupt cut to rich people in Geneva. Another birthing scene. Flashback to Coneheads. And then a brief sojourn in the Alps. Hello, Sound of Music. This movie has everything. And then our mad scientist in the making heads off to Ingolstadt to learn how to build a better monster. Putting together his new pride and joy and apparently paying off a lot of midwives, he charges up the critter, then lets him escape, leading to all sorts of chaos and bad things. TM. At which point, things get complicated, and we finally end up back in the Arctic. And close. Sorry, I just couldn't bring myself to read the whole thing to you. It's on Wikipedia if you really want to see all of it. If you haven't already seen all of it, so to speak. This is WT9V, and now it's time to see if I've just been talking to myself, or if there's anybody else out there that wants to discuss this amazingly fine film. Please let us know your call sign, name, location, and how much of this film you actually sat through, if any, and if so, whether you too needed therapy afterwards. Please come now.
G5P. I saw little bits and pieces of it.
Golf 5, Zulu, India, X-ray, Joe, Wally. I do need therapy, but I'm listening.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-ray, Tom in Louisville. I saw it, and yes, my brain is abnormal.
Juliet Delta Whiskey. I have not seen this movie. I saw the original. I guess I just didn't want to destroy my, do want to ruin it. So I'm just going to listen in the background. K5JW.
Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. I saw this in a theater when it came out, and now I am watching about half of it here at home. NT5TM.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu Whiskey, J, near Weatherford. Yeah, I saw it.
Out there brave enough to come forward from the darkness, show your face from the shadows. I'll give you another chance. Okay, this is WD9B. And as usual, I'm getting text messages from Master Control. Would you like to check in from Echolink? I've been told I'm not, asking nicely. Would you please check in? Pretty hopped in, but anybody else out there? Echolink, RF, either way, I'm easy. See you later. Well, as usual, I think everybody probably knows the normal drill here. We first talk about the plot, such as it was, such as it were. So I'll toss it over to Mike, KG5P. What do you think about the plot of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? Then it is yours. Don't break it.
Michael, well, like I said, I just watched a few minutes of it because it was on regular TV, meaning over-the-air TV, when I was flipping through the channels. And, you know, I've been doing the Frankenstein thing all my life, basically. You know, I watched it, you know, the original James Whale, and to me that kind of ruined everything else. When I was about the 9th grade, I read the book, and I did not like the book. The book, the James Whale movie didn't follow the book very closely, and that was a good thing. Because I didn't like the book at all. And then later on, there were other movies that followed the book much more closely, such as there was a movie made, I don't know, Michael Sarrazin. I don't like Michael Sarrazin, so that was probably part of it. But I have just never seen a good Frankenstein movie that was as good as the original 1932 or whatever it was made. And that included this one. I've been ruined. I was spoiled. And there's no help. It'll never make Frankenstein like it was. Now, there was, in about 1974, 73, there was a movie called Andy Warhol's Frankenstein that was made in 3D and X-rated. And that's available. That's pretty good, but it's got not a whole lot to do with the original movie either. It didn't have much to do with Andy Warhol either. I think he just put his name on it, and that was about all he had to do with it. But I'll sit this one out. I didn't like the book. I liked the Boris Karloff version, and that was about it. So back to that, KG5P.
Thank you, Mike. This is WT9V. And let's see. Next up is Joe and Wiley, who hopefully has been back has gotten some therapy, or is back from therapy, or whatever. KG5ZIX, I think I got that right. Take it away, Joe. WT9V.
G5ZIX, no comment. I'm just monitoring. I'm got to be on the quiet side.
I thought you said you had watched it and needed therapy. My bad. That leads us over to our director of special events, KE5ICX, Tom. What you got for us? WT9V.
All right, well, thank you. Let's see. Michael, what can I tell you about this movie? Well, first off, I got to tell you something. About 3 years ago, I took a class quite innocently online, and it was free, and none of them are free anymore, but it involved science fiction classics, they said, and it was put out by the University of Michigan, and I thought, okay, this is going to be fun. It's going to be enjoyable. It's going to be really entertaining. No, it was a lot of work for nothing. Well, a lot of work because I had to read a book a week and get it done by Tuesday and then write about the darn book. This is one of them, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. So, amazingly, I had never read the book up until this time where I had to go in and expertly get through this book and then be able to, be able to comment about it in some detail. All right, here's the thing. We've all seen the Frankenstein movie from 1937 or whatever it was, and it is nothing like the storyline. Now, like most stories that take place in, what is it, 18, when was this thing written? I don't know. I got, probably about 18. I should know this. I know it's written somewhere, 1831, let's say that. 1831 makes sense. So it's long and lumbering and all of that. The movie actually plays that up and creates some other goofy stuff that goes along with it. The story as written and the screenplay as written actually isn't that bad. If you listen to it and pretend that the actors aren't acting, it actually has a fairly good narrative. We have, the creation of life or the recreation of life, and science was moving in that direction. We're starting to look towards the possibility of making, to manipulate the world around us, and this was a big deal in this thing. The thing that comes out of it is that they put in all this weird disjunctive things with the wife and family members and all that, and then we've got, I don't know, it's just kind of all weird how it all comes together in a... Well, let's put it this way. The script is stitched together much like Frankenstein himself, Frankenstein's monster himself. The best character in here is Frankenstein's monster, the creation. He is played by Robert De Niro, and he does it in a relatively subtle way, while everybody else is screaming at the top of their lungs over everything that's happening. He is very subtle and the most believable character. I know that's characterization, but he's the one that actually brings gravitas to the story, because he reads it the way he's supposed to. Oh, I'm talking about the characterization. But I think that the story could have been edited a little better. They could have gotten rid of a bunch of scenes with the family members running around and all that stuff, and I think it would have been a better movie. Kenneth Branagh, whatever his name is, he's a terrible director, at least he was in this thing. And the writer of the story said, I think this is the best work I've ever done for the worst movie I've ever worked for. So that should tell you something there. The ending is as to be expected, tragic ending, death, and maybe, well, no rebirth, but death for everybody. But the idea of the alter ego of Frankenstein being, Frankenstein's monster being Frankenstein, I think does play into it. I don't know, it's hard to pull out any nuggets out of the plot when everybody is just so frickin' over the top. But I'll come back to characterization later. Those are my pitiful comments on plot, which probably weren't very good. Back to you, Net Control. This is KE5ICX. I'm going to go throw some electricity through me and see what happens. I'll be back. KE5ICX.
This is 39V. Thank you, Tom. And I'm wondering, AC, DC, what voltage? They're going to be as weird Hollywood sparky bits? How's this going to get? Are you going to do it on camera? I hope you do it on camera. Please do it on camera. While we wait for Tom to electrify himself on camera, please, Tom. Please do it on camera. I want to watch. K5JDW, John, I believe. You didn't say your name, but I think that's your name. You said you didn't see it, but do you have any thoughts on what you've heard so far, or other Frankenstein movies you've watched? Or were you like me and I thought, oh, I'm going to make everybody talk in a Dracula accent. Wait, wrong movie. Yeah, that really confused Tom earlier in the week when I sent him a message about that. But anyway, K5JDW, got anything for us?
I believe this is Michael. Yeah, thanks for giving me time to get to the radio. I'm actually working in the far part of the house replacing cabinet doors. And no, I didn't want to participate. I was going to listen in. Actually, I really agree with Mike. I just can't see anything competing with the original. But, I've got to say, now I've been thinking about it, I did enjoy one remake of Frankenstein called Young Frankenstein, and that's about all I've got to say. Thanks. K5JW.
Didn't we all? That's a very good comment. And while we were watching this, some of us get together and watch, from our various houses, but still chatting. And someone kept waiting for putting on the Ritz, but it never happened. Okay, Tony, 55 p.m. In case you're not near the radio, get near the radio, because it's going to be your turn next. Because even though you saw it way back when, I bet you have something good to say. 79V over to NT5TM. The net is yours.
Well, thank you. And yes, I would even be willing to drive up to someone's house if anyone wants to host a Young Frankenstein viewing party this fall. I think that would be a blast. I would be happy to contribute to the snacks or beverages in whatever way people find useful. Maybe even Aaron will tag along, who knows. But yeah, a Young Frankenstein viewing party would be totally awesome compared to this, and totally awesome compared to a lot of things. The plotting of this was very, very uneven. It began, Aaron noticed this very much so, it's active, it's fast. He goes to university, he learns things, he wants to be like his father. He discovers things, he trespasses into forbidden knowledge, he tries to raise this creature from the dead, we'll come back to that. And then suddenly now there's a lot of snow, and staring off into space, and people looking at things, and snow. There are probably people out here in the world who were born in Brazil and have never seen snow because they've never left their beautiful warm country. But for those of us here in this part of North America, we've all seen snow. It's not that impressive. It's white. It gets full of animal poop as the winter goes on. It does not make a movie. In fact, a lot of the plot, Aaron has read the book and I haven't. And I really should try watching the original classic movie because I haven't seen that either. But this movie makes me think that Mary Shelley was perhaps not a very good writer because the whole plot turns on these sudden passions people have. Aspiring Dr. Victor Frankenstein creates this creature and he has sewed it together himself. He knows exactly what it looks like. There is no part of it he has not had his beady eyes on and his sharp needle working at. So the idea that he is suddenly repulsed by it and kills it by hoisting it into a sort of crucifix right after it's reanimated, it struck me as, before and Aaron this time, as really kind of nonsensical and just out there. It's like I soldered my radio kit together and then I'm shocked that it has capacitors and resistors, so I smash it with a hammer. Why? Later on, when he's harvested all the rutabagas, the creature has harvested all the rutabagas or whatever they were for the peasants, suddenly they burst in the door and start attacking him with a stick. Not a, who are you? What are you doing here? Why did you harvest the rutabagas? Just out comes the stick. People have these just sudden violent passions and all this operatic music. I guess we'll discuss that in a future round. So the plot was uneven, and it seemed to be advanced by things that didn't make much sense for characters to do. NT5TM.
Thank you very much, Tony. This is WT9V, and I thought that the whole pulled up into the air by all the chains thing was an accident, but maybe it was planned. Frankly, I wasn't watching that close. And the rutabaga thing, that's a really good question. I don't know. That one kind of confuses me still. Jay, somewhere near Weatherford, as Tom likes to say. What you got for us? Make sense of this for us. Please make sense of it, because I'm still lost. WT9V over to KG5BCW.
This is KG5BCW. I'll be blunt. The only Frankenstein film I've seen that I really like is Young Frankenstein. So I don't know what I was expecting with this film. I guess Boris, for some reason can't say his name. I mean, I think it's all right. I have read the book. Been a while, can't remember the plot line. I don't. The problems with this film, I'm sure, are the director's fault. Don't remember. I remember actually liking the book, which I don't know. This was, something that I actually had to read for class. So it was like, well, okay, this is something. I remember a lot of stuff I didn't really like reading in class, but this was actually one of the few ones I actually did have some appreciation for. So take that however you want to take it. I don't remember the plot of the book being so disjointed, and I remember certain aspects of it that kind of ring a bell with this, but man, it's not nothing like what I remember. I'm contradicting myself. Just the way it's put together, let's just put it that way, is not like I remember. Like the weird incest thing, and I don't know what the heck that was. I don't think that was even. I'm almost wanting to go read a Cliff's notes or whatever of the book, just to see if I can remember what, or revisit what plot points there were, and just see how, if this is that close to it. I mean, it just seemed really far away, like not really. I don't know. In fact, it's such a thing. I basically kind of. Admittedly, I was trying to speed up because the time for Skynet was approaching, and I was getting kind of it was approaching, and I didn't really want to miss out any more of Skynet than this, so I kind of sped up. The nice thing about watching it through YouTube is you can double speed it, and I double speeded about good last third of the film. I do remember the book being kind of long, and just there's not really much you can if you were trying to be honest with honest to the book, it'd be hard to do. But oh gosh, I don't really even know what to say. It was really kind of disappointing. Yeah, that's all I've got. KG5BCW.
WT9V. I have to agree with you. I mean, it's pretty obvious that you're absolutely right about that. If the book was anywhere near that kind of a disjointed mess, it wouldn't be a classic. It would have been burned in 1919, and the year after it came out, and we'd never have heard of it. But it's still with us 200 years later, And yeah, it wasn't like this. So I'm going to pause now and see if there's anybody else that would like to check in, either from Echolink or RF, and see if we have anybody anybody else that would like to talk about the plot, such as it is. Come now, please. Yep, nothing heard. So I'll take my turn. First, part of the problem with this movie, for me, was that for some reason, I thought it was going to be good. So I had an expectation of saying, oh, it's like a big name and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And then the disappointment was even worse, I think, than if I had gone into it thinking, it's going to be another one of those movies. And it turned out to be another one of those movies. One of the things that I thought of last night when I was watching it was that it seemed like a whole bunch of people wrote stuff on note cards, and then they shuffled the note cards, and then they said, okay, let's film these things this way and present it this way. There wasn't continuity. It was just jump scenes, jump cuts from one thing to another with no segues, and it was very abrupt, and I don't know if that was bad editing, bad directing, somebody was on crack, I'm not sure what. Maybe that was big drug time in Hollywood. I don't know. And I haven't been able to find an answer to that. Some things, they didn't have vaccines back in the 1700s, or we would have cured polio a long time before we did. And it all became clear to me when the credits started to roll. Produced by Kenneth Branagh. It's kind of like a few weeks ago when the credits started to roll on Ad Astra. Like, that's why it's all. That's why we saw what we saw. It's like they filmed a whole bunch of things at random and just said, people will figure it out. Minor thing, one of the things that I exclaimed about while watching it was the old hair and nails continue to grow after death, but they don't. The skin shrinks as it dries, exposing more hair and nails. They don't grow. Now I'm going to pretend like I'm, the good net control and know things, but actually I'm reading it off IMDb, I think. And Tom touched on this. Tom mentioned it, actually. I think he quoted it. But I'll elaborate. This sums up my feelings of the movie. The original screenwriter, Frank Darabont, later called the film the best script I ever wrote and the worst movie I've ever seen. And he elaborated. There's a weird doppelganger effect when I watch the movie. It's kind of like the movie I wrote, but not at all like the movie I wrote. It has no patience for subtlety. It has no patience for the quiet moments. It has no patience, period. And loud and blunt and rephrased by the director at every possible turn. Cumulatively, the effect was a totally different movie. I don't know why Branagh needed to make this big, loud film. The material was subtle. Shelley's book was way out there in a lot of ways, but it's also very subtle. I don't know why it had to be this operatic attempt at filmmaking. Shelley's book is not operatic. it whispers at you a lot. The movie was a bad one. That was my Waterloo. That's where I really got my rear kicked most as a screenwriter. Branagh really took the brunt of the blame for that film, which was appropriate. That movie was his vision entirely. If you love that movie, you can throw all your roses at Ken Branagh's feet. If you hated it, throw your spears there too, because that was his movie. And another thing, somebody, while I mentioned it at one point, they said, Francis Ford Coppola. But apparently, according to IMDb, Francis Ford Coppola said after viewing a rough cut, Francis Ford Coppola insisted on cutting the first half hour of the movie. When director Sir Kenneth Branagh refused, Coppola publicly denounced the movie. I think Coppola was right, and this, folks, is why directors should direct and actors should stick to acting. Also, Sir Kenneth Branagh did an uncredited rewrite of the script. One of his additions was that horrible scene where the reanimated Elizabeth sets herself on fire. Whee! Since nobody else wanted to check in a while ago, let's go back to KG5P and see if he has anything he wants to say about characterization.
Well, yeah, it's KG5P. I really don't have much here. I didn't like Robert De Niro because I thought he just wasn't a convincing-looking monster, and I think that was about when I turned it off. I think Robert De Niro, what I like as an actor, he just stopped it for me, so that's all I had. Thanks. We'll just keep on listening. Go ahead, KG5P.
Okay, dokie. Thank you very much. And this is WT9V, your guide for tonight's sojourn through the darkness. Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm trying, it being Halloween and all, but this movie's kind of ruining it for me. KG5ZIX, in Wiley and monitoring. Any thoughts at this point? Anything you want to throw in, or are you still hanging doors, was it?
KG5ZIX, I'm just monitoring and listening to the discussion. Thank you for asking.
I know you said you were monitoring, but I just want to give you a chance in case you came up with something and said, oh, I want to say this. Thank you very much. So I guess that takes us back to Tom in Louisville. Master Control, KG5ICX from WT9B.
Well, thank you, Michael. Let me tell you this. Every character should have died, except for the monster. He should have lived, just like Spock. Spock should have lived, and all the other characters should have died. But that's a different movie entirely. I actually liked the Robert De Niro monster. I know where Mike's coming from, especially from the movies, which are classic. The Universal versions of Frankenstein are wonderful and greatly sympathetic. But in reality, actually, Shelley's Frankenstein's monster, the creation, is much closer to what you see in the movie. That's the only, and De Niro actually plays it exactly right. So if you're going by the book as the most faithful reproduction of the novel itself, and it is, he did an admirable job. I like the character a lot. So I'm sorry, I'm not at odds. I am in complete agreement, but it's like a parallel universe. So I did like how it was handled. everybody else drive me freaking crazy. This over-the-top acting, soap opera-ish approaches to everything. It just takes you out of every single moment. You're trying to figure out, okay, would they act this way? No. Do they act like that in the novel? Some of the characterization is, it's been a few years since I've read the book, and I can't remember. I will tell you that the thing about that type of writing back in the 1800s is it's long and tedious and full of superfluous language, and you're sitting there rolling your eyes and going, I'm bored, because this is not going anywhere. And I think the movie probably, if I remember correctly, is faithful to that. The disjointedness part of it is, I think, comes from the editing and sloppy well, not post. I think that the cinematography was fine, but with the story and trying to make things happen, it made no sense. To be honest, I kind of checked out on the characters. Anytime there was the wife is there, or the family and all that, I just kind of check out. It's very soap opera-ish, and as you may remember, while we were watching the film together, I kept saying it was sort of watching, the Hallmark channel. That's what it felt like through most of the film, until all the blood shows up, and then it was still the Hallmark channel with blood. And those things just drove me nuts. Why not take the essence of the thing and take the characters? You got some decent actors there, more or less, who can really be able to hold a scene, and the director goes and he just blows up the characterizations to this absolutely over-the-top approach. It is the 555-1212 of movies. You are totally drawn out of the story. You're looking at people screaming and yelling and running in place, and it is just very disruptive through the whole thing. So you got a plot that's falling apart. You got characterization or characters that are acting in this unsympathetic, empathetic way. And you're running from the screen, wondering, what the hell am I watching? I want a hug from the creation, because he's the only character that really makes me feel good. KE5ICX.
I'm with you on all of that. I felt a lot more sympathy for the creature than I did for pretty much anybody else in the movie, and I was kind of hoping he'd take out more of them, but he didn't, and anyway, we got what we got. So, let's see, K5JDW says he didn't see it, and I believe he didn't have any comments, although he can jump back in if he wants to in a moment. But in the meantime, MT5TM, Tony, what you got for us on characterization?
I'm sorry that I was unable to hear net control because of the sound of gunshots, and I don't know if it's my turn or not. NT5TM.
Yes, sir, it is your turn. The net is yours. Keep your head down and take it away.
Okay, well, fortunately the gunshots were in the movie. They were not in real life because no one is shooting at me. Yep, I do appreciate Tom's comments and how, people, that incredibly wordy style. How contorted a sentence can I make? The more contorted and wordy the sentence is, the more people will be impressed with my skill as a writer. Sadly, that was a thing. But the whole task of people who translate these things onto the screen is to fix that.
Robert De Niro portrayal is really the least screamy, as he did just the scene I saw just now. Don't bother to scream. He showed up, he said his lines, he killed a bunch of people. He was fairly mean. But, at least he wasn't constantly shrieking at people, and he didn't write this thing. So, not very impressed with the characters. Don't think they were very natural or relatable. Erin does want to add she liked Tom Hulse. Nice to see him again. But that's it, I think. NT5TM, thank you.
And I really want you to get Aaron on mic one of these times, because I just you relay things that she says that are very good and very interesting, and I just think it would be great. But I can wish, I can hope. Okay, Jay. KG, Gab. Okay, I'm looking right at your call sign here on the screen. KG5BZW. What you think about the characters? Did you hate them as much as the rest of us? WT9V.
This is KG5BZW. Yeah. I'll say this. I actually, I didn't really hate. What the heck? My brain just went dead. Robert De Niro. I thought his portrayal wasn't really, let's just put it that way. I thought that Robert's portrayal was the least bad aspect of this film. I actually was kind of curious how they were going to have him. Admittedly, this is not characterization, but this is just special effects and whatever, and I thought that they handled this okay, because Robert De Niro is not the tallest guy in the world, but the effects of, they made him taller. I thought at least, he, who knows what kind of had help with that, but I thought the effects guys did an okay job there. And yeah, the Frankenstein himself, that I would say the visual effects of him is probably about right for the book. I do remember that much. It didn't explain some things, like I'm gonna go back to plot yeah, I'm gonna avoid that. I just there's stuff that the book explains that they didn't explain, and I don't really understand. It went from slow to quick with the murder of the lady, which I don't know if the plot of the book was the lady being accused of murder or something. I don't know. I don't remember. I certainly don't remember the book having this many unexplained things. The characters were, besides Robert De Niro, were quite memorable. John Cleese, I think, did okay job with what he had, but otherwise, I was kind of surprised that was John Cleese, but anyway, Yeah, I can't really say I even the ship's captain. Well, no, the ship's captain was I don't know. There's just there's actually a lot I don't like about this film, and it just right now it's just all blending together in one kind of now just nasty mess. Anyway, um, next person, KG5BZW.
Um, I, 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 I'm listening to you and your description of how it's all going together in a big nasty mess, and I'm thinking about the two, the creature and Frankenstein slipping and sliding and all of that. It was gelatin, by the way, all that, fake amniotic fluid. It was so slippery that apparently the monster suit that De Niro is wearing tore, and they had to be real careful with their photography. But yeah, the whole film was kind of that, just a big mess. I'm going to throw things open again for any people that would like to join us that haven't already checked in. Echolink RF. Carrier pigeon. I'm not picky at this point. WT9V, please come down. We are talking about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from 1994. One more time, anybody else? Anybody that might want to say anything? I'll give you another chance here. Whether you've seen it or not, whether you just want to tell us what you think, what's going on with your weekend. Anybody else? Come on. Come now. Nothing heard. All right. Well, I don't have a whole lot for characterization that other people haven't already said better. It's just so much overacting, so much needless dramatics, so much everything in your face, and it's just the worst part of the movie was the acting, the characters, that and the jumping edits that I just, I practically got whiplash from some of them. A very, very long entry in the IMDb about references in this movie that referred to other Frankenstein movies. I'm not going to bother reading it on the air because it's a lot of text. I'll just say that it might be interesting if you want to, look at it and see references that you may have missed while groaning about the terrible acting. It's one of the trivia entries in the IMDb, and it looks pretty interesting. So, KG5P, KG5ZIX, both said that they are monitoring and don't really have anything to say, so that means it's your turn, Tom. Pull that microphone over to you and get your foot on the pedal, because the net is yours. K5ICX from WT9V.
All right, well, let's see. I guess we're talking about special effects or anything we want, because everybody's pooping out. Everybody's at Halloween parties, or they're at the dark side, or they're doing something else. I'm just sitting at home by myself in the dark with nothing to do except talk on this. Never mind. Okay, here's the thing. Let me talk about special effects and the whole look and the demeanor of the thing. There's a presumptuousness that is required by, like, Kenneth Branagh or whatever the hell his name is that we have to create this damn mystique, this whole feeling, this whole gravitas that they always try and do. Horror, science fantasy, whatever, and science fiction. And I think one of the reasons why this really is a net that we talk about is that how you go off the rails is probably half or more than half of what we talk about when it comes to a genre that's really difficult to articulate on screen. This is an example where you had tons of money for a ton of movie, I guess. We'll talk it that way. And you turn something that could be really noble and really good into something that's not really all that good. And that's why we do this net. What is misdirection about? What is the problem when you try and establish characterization, try and establish a world, and try and make a story work and the acting fit together? This is one where the money's there and it's all on screen, but it's like a Rube Goldberg thing. You've not only from the standpoint of what you see on screen, such as the unnecessary need to transport the body via Amazon Direct and up, down, around, everywhere you go, and I think there's a song about that, and drop them into the Instapot, close it up and seal it and make it happen, and in the copper thing. How long do you have to do that? How many days do you have to do that? I mean, I can wait for a damn Subway and do the same thing, except I don't have the pressure cooker. It goes on and on and on. And then you got the secret room. Okay, nobody come in the room, you gotta lock the door. Nobody's coming in that place. They're walking by and they got dead bodies going back and forth. They got bigger things to worry about than the locked door inside of the locked door in the inside of the room over on the right next to the Louvre. What does that mean? Why do they do that? How long does it take? Please lock the door. Give me a break.
GIX. Who needs a plot to be in the storyline?
Oh, a new one. Oh, okay. Well, Net Control will take you up at this point. We're talking about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the movie from 1994. So, because it is Halloween, we're talking about Frankenstein. But this is the closest adaptation of any film. So, stand by. It is a directed net. Your Net Control will take over. I'm just ranting. I'm just one of the people here. But let's see. What else can I say? The special effects. They show this French, I don't know, provincial home. I guess it's in where the heck is it? Nuremberg, not Nuremberg. I don't know. Wherever it is, it's a two-story colonial type home, wherever the hell it is. And they got this massive stairway, this big, huge stairway, which you can send a marching band down, but no band. The marching band could die, and of course somebody does die because they deserve to die in this building of of death. I don't know. And one picture on a wall that's the size of the Superdome? Don't get me started. Well, I've already started. This part, Geneva, thank you, Net Control Geneva. In any case, I'm trying to figure this all out, and you got the little room and the big room, and people running around. Another thing, I'm ranting. When there's a plague, well, why not have a plague? Let me reset. There's a plague, and they go out into the streets, and you see people wandering the streets, plagues. Again, it's like there's a whole marching tribute to plagueness, and outside of the people in the little cart thing looking like they're dead, everybody else looks fine. In fact, they're beautiful people. How can beautiful people be plague-ridden? Nobody's over 30 in the plague thing, except the people in the, well, we don't know because they're face down in the plague thing. And another thing, stay off my grass. There's also another scene where the Frankenstein's monster jumps into the thing with all the plague-ridden people who are dead, and they're all walking around like zombies. They never see anything. They never see him jump in, and the sound and the wobbling, wheeling things going on, and did you hear that, Joe? No, I'm too busy worried about the plague thing going on, and there's a special over at Wendy's, so I'm going this way. So, okay, I'm going to stop now, because at this point, I finally decided this movie is stupid. Back to Net Control. This is KE5ICX.
You have no idea how much it's taking me to be able to control myself and not be laughing on the air too much. Did I hear KG5ZIX in there?
Yes, sir. KG5ZIX.
Have something you wanted to say about the science, special effects, or anything else? Because right now we're in the anything else section, talking about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
I was just thinking about some of these creative movies where there's not really a plot to the storyline. It's kind of a joke between me and my wife. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Go ahead and share. We're interested.
No, that was just the comment I wanted to make was sometimes there's not a plot to the actual storyline. Period. The end.
Well, I get you. There was supposed to be a plot, but I think Sir Kenneth Branagh decided he didn't want one. So that brings us around to, since John didn't see it, K5GDW, and hasn't indicated he wants to say much of anything. I could be wrong. John?
JDW. Good timing, actually. I was going to say you're doing a very good job, sir. Usually with these, I'm not a movie person, so I sit in the background like a parasite. I do support the club, and I do have a lot of respect for the talent on here, so I like to listen in. Like I said, I'm just a parasite. But I also was going to ask, I think I actually heard you say Mary Shelley. I was thinking back in the olden days, no one they just used the first initial, and I'm assuming that's one of those things that, women were third-class citizens back then if they were lucky. And, of course, she probably decided, or maybe she and her publisher decided that was probably best just to use the first initial, which probably helped her a lot in the long run. Anyway, I'll wait for you to tell me. I think you said Mary Shelley. I don't remember. Anyway, but, yeah, you're doing a good job, and I will go back to my work. K5JW.
Well, thank you. I'm pretty much faking it, because Brenda was supposed to be Net Control, but she decided to abandon us. Not that I'm holding it against her. Of course, I would never do that. And I don't know how the book was published. Tom was waving it around on the screen a while ago, but I wasn't paying that close attention. And the movie is technically called Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's a Francis Ford Coppola thing. He likes putting the name of the original author of the book in the title of his movie adaptations. This is before he decided he wanted nothing to do with what this turned into. Like, for example, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and other movies like that he's done. So that brings us around to NT5TM, Tony and Aaron. And Tom's holding up the book now, or he was holding it up back then. The video lags a bit, but it says Mary Shelley on the book, but it's probably not an original edition. Anyway, Tony and Aaron, anything at all, science, special effects, whatever. It's free for all time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for staying awake and being here. I have a few observations, both serious and humorous. With all that amniotic fluid and all those weird bulging leather drippy bags, wouldn't you hate to be a tenant in that building underneath him? The attic guy, there's this stuff dripping out of the ceiling all the time. It gets in my salad, and I don't know what it is, and it's really slimy. And my clothes all stick together. I don't think he's getting his security deposit back. The music definitely is totally for the movie. It is overbearing and loud and bombastic and distracting, which is great because the actors are mostly overacting all the time. So the fact that the music is so intense and so distracting, it actually really fits. When I first saw this ages ago, I thought it was sad and kind of gory and it's a movie that hasn't worked well on the second viewing. Some things, like, say Das Boot, I can get different things out of with each viewing. This one, unfortunately, in the intervening decades, mostly it just seems slow and flawed. And Erin's final comment would be that she really felt it was crippled by its source material, that they really should have, the director, the producer, whoever was working on this movie, should have taken some ideas from the source material, but then made their own work of art from it and tried to transcend it because, again, she really felt it was crippled by its source material. So that's all we've got. Thank you for being here, NT5TM.
It's a good thing I have a ThinkPad with the little drain holes on the keyboard, because I was taking a sip of water when you came out with that comment about the leaks from above. Jay Weatherford-ish, KG5BCW. Bring us home, Jay. Anything you want to talk about. WT9VDU.
All right, WT9V, just KG5BCW. Oh yeah. I already complimented the one thing I was kind of wanting to compliment. It really comes down to what I want to think about the film, and which is, about a lot of these films, I don't want to think about the film that much, although, some films do have their moments. Actually, I honestly think I liked last week's film better than this one, and that was made with communist funds and whatever. It just, in fact, it didn't make much sense either. Anyway, now let's not jump too far off the rails here. Back to the film. It didn't. There's just the lack of coherence. You can have a film with no plot, but if you could have coherent scenes from one to another, where stuff is definitely happening as a consequence of previous actions you've already seen, you can have a pretty decent film. You don't strictly need. That's not strictly a conventional plot, but that's a sequence of things, and I really think that Kenneth just did not think about how I almost wish now that I thought of it, I wish I'd seen what his previous attempts were. Was this like his first real attempt? I mean, how did he get the money to do this? I don't know. It's not that bad, but it's definitely not good. And words fail to I failed to find the words to describe. I think the others on this note have more than adequately described some of the failings of this film. Let me just reset. KG5BCW. I don't know. There was a few sequences, the cave sequences that just kind of came out of nowhere. Wasn't bad. The some of the stuff at the not quite the beginning. There's just the extra stuff at the beginning which just didn't really have anything to do with anything. I don't think. I don't know. 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes of it didn't really have anything, a real bearing, or manifest bearing. I don't know what I'm saying. But there are some sequences questioning things. Oh, I don't know. Of course, this is what happens when you try to speak off the cuff and you're not looking at notes. You're just kind of trying to remember things, and this is my review is about it's probably as incoherent as this film, but anyway. No train of thought is coming to me, so I guess I'm done. KG5BCW, back to net.
A secret, Jay. I make notes. And even then, I don't make a lot of sense sometimes. But then the fun part of being net control, like Tom says, is being able to crib off of other people's notes and the other things that other people say. And I'm not really that good at it, not anywhere near as good at it as he is. But right now, I'm going to once again throw the net open for any last-minute check-ins. Maybe Miss Brenda has gotten out of therapy, although I kind of doubt it. She's probably still hiding, because, like I said, Tom told me this was her idea. So, blame Brenda. She's not here. But are there any other check-ins? Anybody else that would like to say anything about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? This is probably going to be last call.
Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo Bravo. David, Dallas.
Oh, we got one. Anybody else?
KG5, Zulu India X-Ray. I really enjoyed the net tonight. It is almost midnight, so I really enjoyed the chatter, the banter, and I do understand it's almost midnight, so we'll see how that goes. So I guess I'll be checking out. Thank you very much for letting me be on your net. KG5ZIX, Joe and Wiley.
Well, you're absolutely welcome, Joe. I mean, it's been a pleasure having you. If you'd like to get in on the movie fun, I think I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. You can either go to Afterglow Movie, Afterglow is one word, on Facebook, or send a note to Tom, KE5ICX@yahoo.com, and he will send you the notes about what next week's movie is going to be. And that way, you know, if you want to watch it, join in, say terrible things about terrible movies, join in on the fun. Otherwise, you know, you're perfectly welcome to check in and just listen to us make fools of ourselves. Or, well, that's just me. Tom and Tony and everybody else sounds really good. I'm very impressed all the time. David, nice to see you. What you got for us?
Well, I reluctantly joined this party, but since I have my pruning shears, I can cut myself from the net in which I have been entangled and release myself, hopefully. Final comment. I won't go on for too long. The one thing, it had one of my favorite Bible verses during the eulogy. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it is good or evil. Now, the rest of the things that Captain Walton said during the eulogy before they immolated Dr. Frankenstein was not contiguous in the Bible, so they kind of just sort of made that up, kind of like they made up what they wanted to pick and choose from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein to put into this movie. It was not an authentic representation of the book. The book is available as a Kindle book for free. I recommend that if you haven't read Frankenstein to actually read it for free, and you will find a very well-written, eloquent, just old English, but still readable and very full of imagery. And in the last few pages, the creature says the following as an example. When I run over the frightful catalog of my sins, I cannot believe that I am the same creature whose thoughts were once filled with sublime and transcendent visions of the beauty and majesty of goodness. But it is even so. The fallen angel that becomes a malignant devil, yet even that enemy of God and man had friends and associates in his desolation. I am alone, the creature. W5EBB.
5ICX. Thank you, David. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for finding the strength to use the cutting shears to cut yourself free from the other net that you were in. It's always good to hear from you because you always have like so many other people here, and I'll just say this frankly, y'all make me think that I'm just kind of, bumbling along because I watch the movie and kind of like, and then y'all come up with all these wonderful comments that make me think so much more about things that I hadn't thought about before. And that's why I like this net so much, because it opens my eyes to things I hadn't seen otherwise. So, my comments, and then we'll probably wrap things up. I told you, Tom, I told you last night, they couldn't afford paintings because they spent so much money on the staircase. They couldn't even afford a banister. As far as the special effects, the wandering electrical sparks just make me cringe because it's just so wrong. It's just not the way it works. And the prosthetics were okay. They weren't great. They were okay. I think it was Tom. Is like, you already have a whole body there. Why can't you just reanimate that? Why do you have to glue pieces from, or well, not even glue, but poorly stitched pieces from all these other ones together? And that's a good question. Maybe that's something in the book that they didn't cover in the movie. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to try one more time for any last check-ins, any last comments, any last anything from anybody that wants to stick their toe into this slimy mess. And if you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Any other last-minute check-ins, comments? And David, if you want to say more, you're more than welcome to. Come now, please.
This is WB5OZL Mobile. Name's Brenda, and I'm wandering around Dallas.
And Kilo 5 Juliet Delta Whiskey.
Oh, and KE5ICX. I don't know what the hell I'll say, but after those two, I will.
Well, cool. Okay, so we got another one, and then John will say something, which is great, and then Tom. And so, Miss Brenda, are you lost? Do we need to send out the sled dogs? Because apparently they broke their chains earlier in the movie.
Yeah, and they died also. Did you not miss that part?
Might have done, in which case you're in trouble.
Well, I'm in the car. I don't think the dogs can get in. And dogs like me pretty much, so I think I'm okay. What did I think of the movie? Let me count the ways in which this movie is so wrong. I didn't follow the book at all. I read the book. Nothing like the book. All these big names in this movie, they should have known better. All of them have made decent movies. Why did they sign on to this? Did they think this was going to be a good movie, and then they were surprised at the end? Way too much gratuitous violence, gratuitous amniotic fluid, way too much money spent on elaborate costumes and sets. Boy, I just don't know where to go with that. I don't want to hog up all the time. I know we're almost out of time, and probably all of this has been said 3 or 4 times by other people. Doubt I have anything really innovative and original to add, but those are my thoughts. WB5OZL.
We've got time. We can, we don't have to be out of here by any set time. There's nobody, standing at the door looking pointedly at their watches. So if there's something else you'd like to say, go right ahead. 17IV.
W5FC.
I think maybe we should have watched Young Frankenstein instead. I think it was actually a little closer to the book, perhaps. I really wanted to see A Song and Dance by the monster. I'm just very troubled with how far they strayed from the original book, and I don't know why they did that. So many movies do, and often there's a reason, but there was no reason for that here. Why didn't they make a different movie and call it something else? That's all I've got to say about it. No, I didn't like it. How did everybody else feel? Anybody like it? W5OZL Mobile.
Well, since you were off playing with other people instead of us, and no, we're not holding a grudge. Yes, we are. I'll give you the short Cliff Notes version. The writer wrote apparently a completely different story, and Branagh murdered it. So the writer said it was the best screenplay I've ever written and the worst movie I've ever seen. Francis Ford Coppola said that they should, like, lop off the first half hour. Brownell said, oh, no, it has to be that way. And so Coppola said, I want nothing to do with this. So basically, it pretty much all comes down to Kenneth Branagh and Kenneth Branagh. So most of the people, in fact, I think everybody that commented hated it more than you did, if that's possible. I believe I heard K5JW in there. John, you wanted to enlighten us with some final comments, sir.
Hi, JW. And Brenda, welcome back from your, I guess you were, I hope you were at a Halloween party of some sort, from what I hear. And, yeah, I guess the only comment I've got about Mary Shelley's school on diversity training, was I was thinking about it, and I'm building on the shoulders of giants here. Tom made a comment earlier, and a couple other people made comments kind of along the edge of this about the characters and stuff, and it almost seems, it sounded like, and I hate it saying this, when I'm supposedly a good Texan, but I've actually gone to rodeos where I rooted for the cow or rooted for the bull, because it just seems unfair, the stuff they do it. I actually have rooted for the animal, and it sounded a little like kind of what Tom and some other people were kind of alluding to. Anyway, that's about all I got. K5JDW.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's been a pleasure having you. And I think Tom had more ranting. I always find Tom's ranting very entertaining. Take it away, Mr. KE5ICX, Mr. President. World control.
Okay, well, whatever. Let me tell you this. Okay, so what do you got going on in this film? You got all the ranting, and which I'm intimately familiar with because I get it. I will tell you this. I had a feeling of comfort. Every time somebody ranted about anything, they had this wonderful score that buttressed their ranting. I'm one of those guys. I want that score. So I'm going to go out and buy this score so that every time I say anything, there will be music in the background that will support my ranting. It's called buttressing. Buttressing. It's really important. It matters. You need both speakers for that. So I need, it's a swap shot. I need both speakers. KE5I6.
W5EBB.
Go ahead, David.
It's a fine line between soundtrack buttressing and laugh track. W5EBB.
Oh, well done. Good point. Anybody else? Kilo Charlie 5, Alpha Kilo Bravo. Right ahead.
Yeah, good evening there. We've been listening to y'all from just the other side of Gainesville there. So, enjoying it over here on 35 on the Fort Worth side there. Just enjoying listening to everybody out there. Kind of a change of topic, interesting thing to listen to while we're riding, heading back into the Metroplex. So, have a good one. Talk to y'all later. Thanks for being there and enjoying it. KC5A can be mobile, and
I'm glad we've been able to provide you with some entertainment on your journeys. That seems to be a thing with radio. I ride along with a lot of people, virtual co-pilot, as it were, and hadn't really thought about this net that way, but I can see it. Definitely see it. One more time. Anybody else out there with any comments? This is for host this evening, WT9V.
WV5OZL.
Go ahead, Miss Brenda.
Well, we talked about a laugh track. I think this needs a cry track. And I think Tom is onto something. We all need to buttress music into our lives. I think it would make our lives so much more, it would really enhance our lives, I think. WB50ZL Mobile.
You're right. I'll need a soundtrack. I'm not sure what mine would be. It'd probably be the sad trombone, but I digress. All right, I keep, one more time. I'm going to keep doing this until nobody responds. One more time. Anybody else out there that would like to make a comment?
Kilo Golf 5, zombies need jobs.
Oh my! Dude, please, come now.
I missed this fine net tonight. I was indisposed with duties from the commander-in-chief, I suppose. A message for Tom, if he happens to still be on. I wish to recant my episode selection of the Star Lost, which was previously Circuit of Death, and I believe that we should go with episode 7, The Alien Oro, because it guest stars Walter Koenig of Star Trek. Back to you, Mind Controlled. KG5ZNJ.
Thank you, Frank. And yes, Tom is there. And if you're watching the video, he was enthusiastic whenever he heard your voice. Something going on here. I'm not really sure what it is, but hopefully he has taken notes. And if not, this is where to find you and ask you again, I'm sure. Anybody else? One more time. Anybody else out there?
W5FC.
IMS.
This is working so well. Get 5 IMS. You found your microphone. I'm so proud of you.
Well, we've had a few incidents around here. We're watching the dogs next door. Well, my grandson is, and well, he forgot that the dogs are very anxious when you show up after they've been cooped up in the house for several hours. And he was putting in the alarm code, and one of them tripped him up, so he was unable to finish the alarm code in time. And of course, that started all kinds of sirens wailing and excited dogs. And then one of them ran out. Of course, it was the deaf one that ran out, so we had to chase her down, get her back in the house and everything. So it was kind of a fun evening. A comment on the movie is my problem with this movie is, in my mind, is Young Frankenstein. So, all the comments initially show up as a Young Frankenstein reference, and I have to keep telling myself, no, this is not Young Frankenstein. This is Millie Shaw's Frankenstein and 5 IMS.
Did the police show up and shoot anybody when the alarm went off?
Fortunately, the neighbor has disconnected her home phone, so nobody called there, but they called her cell phone, so wherever she happens to be vacationing, they got a hold of her, and of course she gave the code because she knew that somebody inexperienced was watching the dogs for her, and, gave the code and said it's okay, and, she'll do some checking. If it's not, she'll call back, and of course, by then everything was fine. We actually recaptured the dog and everything, but, My grandson is notably shook, and I doubt if he'll volunteer to watch their dogs for a while. N5 IMS.
You know what they say? Life is a series of learning experiences, and this apparently was one of them. So, I've managed to, squeeze an extra 20 minutes out of this pig just by saying, okay, anybody else? One more time. So I'm going to do it again. Anybody else? One more time.
EBB.
KE5ICX.
Love this. David, take it away. The net is yours. Like I said earlier, don't break it.
Ovaltine. W5 EBB.
Okay, I'm deep breath. Okay, Tom, your turn.
Wait a minute, why? I don't know why I'm first. I was second. All right, I'll tell you. Here's the thing. The movies, the Universal movies of Frankenstein are wonderful. They are fantastic. They are fun. They are in black and white. They have cool equipment. They got all the things, the nuts and bolts, literally, that everybody loves, especially ham radio operators, because, frankly, we want Frankenstein in our shack. Everything about it works. There's a kid wanting candy. Get off my lawn. Okay. That's cool. This movie had color and lots of interaction with people we don't care about, well, anyway, this whole, all right, I'm going back to the 1938 version and not the 1818 version. Just wanted to mention that, and then I've got next week's movie. KE5ICX.
Would you please tell Tom that he wasn't actually first, that you went and he missed it?
That's correct. My comment was very brief. W5 EBB.
I wouldn't put you on the spot. Oh, I totally would. Okay, one more time. Anybody else with any final comments, no matter how crazy, because we're at that point in the net, please come down. I guess I've beaten that dead horse to death. I have it on relatively good authority that next week's movie is The Solar Nauts from 1967. I have no idea about anything about it other than the fact that it's short. Really short, which might be a good thing. Might be a really good thing. If you aren't, oh, Tom has details. Tom didn't share these details. Tom wants to have the limelight again. Has anybody ever noticed that Tom's a bit of an attention whore? Anyway, I was going to say, well, I will go ahead and say, if you aren't on the next week's movie announcement list and you'd like to be, go to Afterglow Movie, Afterglow is one word, on Facebook and sign up, or if you don't like Facebook, and who can blame you, send an email to ke5icx@yahoo.com, and Tom will tell you what's on the list. So I'm going to pretend like Tom is alternate net control, and I'm going to give him control of the net, let him tell you details of the solar knots, and then he can close things out. It has been a pleasure. I really like doing this, and I hope y'all enjoyed, or at least can put up with my silliness every now and then. This is WT9V, and I hope y'all have a great Halloween. Over to you, Tom. The net is yours.
All right, he's acting like he's running off into the. Gone with the Wind. What's her name? Off into the into the mountains. Okay, here it goes. I was asked to do this earlier, and suddenly, here it is. Power and Temple watched the alien spaceship weaving in and out of the space lanes. It was obvious our extraterrestrial driver had a little extraterrestrial drink along the way. Power flipped the police lights on, and the spacecraft accelerated to near light speed. We have a runner. Contact Mars Control and see if they can put an intergalactic block around near the Mount Pilot space station. Join us for the improbable space adventure as we head back into Forgotten Space TV podcast. This one, the Solar Knots from 1967. Saturday, November 2nd. Be there or be square. Back to net control. I'm not net control. You're net control. You got the steering wheel. Back to you. KE5I6.
W5FC.
This explains why we've been weaving all over the place then. Fine, I'm net control. I tried to give it to you, but, you know, yeah, whatever. Actually, Brenda is supposed to be net control, but she's slacking. All right. Since we have done the thing and gone on way too long, or maybe the right amount too long, I don't know, and Tom has told us what is coming up next week, and once again, I swear the movies that play in Tom's head are more entertaining than the ones that we watch on TV and whatever. At this point, I'm just going to shut this thing down. There's a switch over here somewhere. Y'all have a great weekend. Have a happy Halloween. And I will see you or hear you throughout the week and next week for the Afterglow movie. That's it. Y'all have a great one. WT9B 73.
This is WT5OZL Mobile.
That's Miss Brenda.
I was not slacking. I had an approved app signed and notarized. I have an affidavit.
Sorry, we can't copy you. There's too much noise.
She said the mayor of Dallas notarized something for her. I forget. Anyway, good net, by the way. Thanks for the entertainment. K5, JDW.
Thank you very much, and knowing Brenda, it's probably something notarized in crayon. I don't know. She keeps talking about affidavits, and they're in crayon, and I'm suspicious. WT9V.